The stars stretched endlessly before the bridge of the UES Defiant. Captain James Walker stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the cosmic dance of distant galaxies through the main viewport. The ship hummed softly around him, Earth's most advanced warship, carrying humanity's greatest achievements in weapons, shields, and the experimental quantum drive that made her unique. "Another quiet patrol, Captain," said Lieutenant Ross from her tactical station. She smiled slightly, tapping through the sensor readings that showed nothing but empty space in their sector. Walker nodded, but something felt off today. 20 years in space had taught him to trust his gut. "Keep the shields at full power, Lieutenant. Better safe than sorry." The words had barely left his mouth when the emergency communications channel burst to life. Dozens of signals flooded in from across the galaxy, their universal translators working overtime to convert the various alien languages. "Help us. They're consuming everything. Our outer colonies have gone dark. The darkness spreads. Please, anyone." Dr. Reed rushed onto the bridge, his gray hair disheveled. "Captain, you need to see this." He transferred data to the main screen, showing a wave of destruction spreading through known space. Entire solar systems were going dark, their communications cutting off one by one. "Get me Earth Command," Walker ordered, his voice steady despite the growing dread in his stomach. The screen flickered to life, showing Admiral White's grim face. "Walker, we're seeing it too. Whatever this is, it's headed straight for Earth. All colonies in the Outer Rim have already gone silent. We're mobilizing the entire fleet, but..." The transmission crackled with interference. "Sir, Admiral." Walker watched in horror as more red dots appeared on the tactical display, representing lost colonies and ships. Whatever was coming, it moved faster than anything they'd ever encountered. The next few hours became a blur of chaos. Earth's defense fleet gathered, nearly 300 ships strong. The Defiant joined their lines, waiting for an enemy they couldn't yet see. Then the sensors lit up. They came like a storm of living shadow, thousands of biomechanical ships that moved as one, their black hulls absorbing weapons fire as if it were nothing. The battle that followed would be remembered as humanity's darkest hour. Earth's fleet fought bravely, but their weapons seemed to grow less effective with each volley, as if the enemy was learning and adapting in real time. Ship after ship went dark, their crew's final moments broadcast across the emergency channels. "They're inside the shields. The hull it's changing somehow. Tell our families we..." Walker watched helplessly as the mighty Earth fleet was reduced to floating debris. The Defiant's advanced shields held, but they wouldn't last forever. That's when Dr. Reed made a discovery that would change everything. "Captain." Reed's voice cut through the chaos. "The quantum drive. Its frequency is disrupting their formation when we move. They can't predict our jumps like they're predicting everyone else's standard drives." Walker's mind raced. They couldn't save Earth, not now. But they could survive, learn, and maybe find a way to fight back. He opened a channel to Earth Command's bunker, where Admiral White was coordinating the planet's final defenses. "Sir, we can escape. The Defiant might be our only chance to..." "Go." The Admiral's voice was firm. "That's an order, Walker. Find allies. Find a way to stop this. Humanity's survival depends on it." The transmission ended as another wave of enemy ships descended toward Earth. Walker looked at his crew, the finest men and women humanity had to offer. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. "Plot a quantum jump, maximum range. We're going to find help, and then we're going to make these bastards pay." The Defiant's quantum drive spooled up, its unique energy signature causing nearby enemy ships to shudder and break formation. As Earth's final distress calls echoed through the bridge, the ship vanished in a flash of light, carrying humanity's last hope into the unknown depths of space. Behind them, the cradle of humanity fell to shadow. But the war was far from over. It was just beginning. The UES Defiant emerged from quantum space into chaos. Before them, A beautiful crystalline space station orbited a blue gas giant, its spires reflecting starlight like diamonds. But the beauty was broken by combat. Dozens of elegant ships with glowing hulls fought desperately against the same dark swarm that had taken Earth. Life signs on the station, Captain Walker demanded, straightening in his command chair. Over 10,000, sir, Lieutenant Ross reported. The station's shields are failing. Those ships are trying to evacuate civilians, but they're being overwhelmed. Walker didn't hesitate. Earth was gone, but he could save these people. Battle stations. Target the nearest swarm ships. Show them what a human warship can do. The Defiant's advanced weapons came alive, cutting through the darkness with precision that surprised even its crew. The swarm ships, used to easily adapting to their enemies' attacks, found themselves struggling against the quantum-enhanced targeting systems. A voice came through the communication system, speaking in a musical language that the translators quickly decoded. Unknown vessel, this is Guardian Light of the Bright Ones. We thank you for your aid, but you must flee. The swarm cannot be beaten. They learn from every attack. This is Captain Walker of the UES Defiant. We've faced these things before, and we've learned a few tricks. Form your ships up behind us. We'll clear a path to the station. The Bright One ships, graceful vessels that seemed built from light itself, fell into formation behind the Defiant. Walker watched the swarm's movements carefully. They moved like a perfect machine, but that was their weakness. Dr. Reed, prepare to modulate our shield frequency. Lieutenant Ross, time your shots with their pattern changes. Walker leaned forward. They work as one mind, so let's give that mind a headache. The Defiant charged forward, its shields shifting randomly thanks to the quantum drive's influence. Every time the swarm adapted to one frequency, the shields changed to another. Ross fired the main guns in an irregular pattern that Walker's crew had practiced for hours since their escape from Earth. The swarm's perfect formation began to break apart. Ships designed to move in flawless unity found themselves confused by the Defiant's unpredictable style. Some crashed into each other, while others fired at shadows created by the quantum field. Their coordination is failing, Reed announced excitedly. The quantum field is disrupting their hive-mind connection. Guardian Light's voice came through again, filled with awe. Impossible. You've broken their unity. In all our records, no one has managed this. Sometimes chaos is better than perfect order, Walker replied. Get your people off that station. We'll keep them busy. The evacuation ships rushed past, while the Defiant continued its dance with the swarm. Walker's crew worked like a well-oiled machine, using every trick and tactic that made humans unique. Where the swarm expected mathematics and logic, they got intuition and improvisation. An hour later, the last civilian ship cleared the station. The swarm, its numbers cut in half, finally retreated into deep space. On the bridge of the Defiant, the crew allowed themselves to breathe again. Captain, Ross reported, the Bright Ones are hailing us. They're inviting us to their backup station in the next system. Walker nodded. Accept their invitation. Maybe now we can learn more about what we're really fighting. As the Defiant followed the glowing ships of their new allies, Walker felt a small spark of hope. Earth was lost, but humanity wasn't finished. They'd shown that these unstoppable enemies had weaknesses after all, and where there was one weakness, there would be others. Guardian Light's final transmission before they jumped to safety summed it up perfectly. Perhaps the legends were true after all. In our darkest hour, heroes would come from an unknown world, bringing chaos to defeat the perfect order that threatens us all. The Defiant's quantum drive engaged, and they vanished into space, leaving behind a graveyard of swarm ships and a story that would spread quickly through the galaxy. Humans were here, and they were changing the rules of the war. Haven Station lived up to its name. Hidden within an asteroid field, the massive structure served as a refuge for species fleeing the swarm. The UES Defiant docked among ships of all shapes and sizes, from crystalline vessels of the Bright Ones to massive living ships that looked like space whales. Captain Walker stood in the station's grand meeting chamber, facing representatives from 5 major species. Guardian lights stood beside him, their crystalline form glowing softly as they addressed the gathering. "The humans have proven themselves," Light said. "Their ship alone has done what our combined fleets could not. They made the swarm retreat." A large being covered in metallic scales, General Thunder of the Iron Clan, growled in disagreement. "One victory means little. How do we know they won't abandon us like they abandoned their own world?" Walker felt anger rise in his chest, but kept his voice calm. "We didn't abandon Earth. We survived to fight back, to find allies, to stop the swarm before they destroy everyone." The third representative, leader Soft Step of the Ghost Runners, moved forward on 4 silent legs. Their transparent skin showed swirling colors as they spoke. "The human ship's quantum technology. It's unlike anything we've seen. It disrupts the swarm's unity." "Exactly." Dr. Reed stepped forward, holding up a data tablet. "And with your help, we could make it even stronger. Each of your species has fought the swarm. Each has survived. You must have learned something we can use." The chamber erupted in argument. Walker watched as ancient rivals debated working together. The Iron Clan and Star Singers had fought wars for centuries. The Ghost Runners trusted no one after their homeworld's destruction. The Bright Ones and Deep Dreamers came from opposite ends of the galaxy. Then the station's alarms blared. "Swarm ships detected." The announcement echoed through the chamber. 3 attack groups approaching from different vectors. Walker turned to the arguing representatives. "You can stay here and die separately, or come with me and live together. Choose now." On the Defiance Bridge minutes later, Walker was surprised to find representatives from all 5 species joining his crew. The Iron Clan's weapons expert studied Lieutenant Ross's tactical display. A Star Singer engineer worked with Dr. Reed at the science station. A Ghost Runner navigator plotted escape routes, while a Deep Dreamer psychic helped predict swarm movements. "They're surrounding the asteroid field," Ross reported. "Standard tactics would say we're trapped." Walker smiled. "Good thing we don't use standard tactics. Ghost Runner friend, what's the densest part of the field?" "Section 7B, Captain. The rocks there are too close for safe passage." "Perfect. That's where we're going." "Star Singer, can you boost power to our forward shields?" The alien engineer's musical voice chimed in affirmative. The Defiance shields glowed brighter. "Iron Clan, we'll need precision shooting. Think you can handle our weapons?" The scaled warrior bared metal teeth in a fierce grin. "Point. Shoot. Destroy. Simple enough for anyone." Walker took his command chair. "All hands, prepare for some very human craziness." The Defiant shot into the asteroid field, quantum drive creating a chaos field that the swarm couldn't predict. They barrel-rolled through gaps too small for comfort, the combined expertise of 6 species pushing the ship beyond its designed limits. When the swarm followed, the Iron Clan warrior proved his worth. Each shot detonated asteroids at perfect moments, creating chains of explosions that ripped through the perfectly ordered swarm formations. The Defiant emerged on the other side unscathed. Behind them, the swarm ships retreated once again, their losses too heavy to justify continuing. In the aftermath, the alliance was no longer just an idea. The representatives had seen firsthand how their different skills could work together, how human unpredictability combined with alien expertise could achieve the impossible. "Perhaps," Guardian Light said quietly, "this is how we win. Not through perfect unity like the swarm, but through celebrating our differences." Walker nodded. They had a long way to go, but today had proven something important. Together, they were stronger than the sum of their parts. The real question was, would it be enough to save the galaxy? Dr. Reed hadn't slept in 3 days. The scientist's eyes were red as he stared at holographic displays, filling the Defiance main laboratory. Around him, researchers from 5 alien species worked at different stations, each bringing their own knowledge to solve the puzzle of the swarm's weakness. "Look at this again," he said, pointing to a pattern in the data. Every time our quantum field hits them, their ships lose formation for exactly 3.7 seconds. The Star Singer engineer, whose name translated as Bold Note, hummed thoughtfully. Her crystalline body resonated with the sound. The pattern matches old legends about the Mindbreakers, weapons that could disrupt linked consciousness. Captain Walker entered the lab, followed by Guardian Light. The captain took one look at his exhausted science officer and frowned. "Tell me you found something worth missing sleep over." Reed's tired face broke into an excited grin. "Better than that, sir. We think we found their weakness." "Show him." Bold Note. The Star Singer activated a larger hologram in the center of the lab. It showed a massive structure hidden in deep space, surrounded by swirling clouds of dark energy. "The swarm's central hub," Guardian Light explained. "We discovered its location by tracking quantum echoes from their retreat patterns, but no fleet has ever gotten close enough to attack it." "The hub isn't just a base," Reed continued. "It's their brain. The entire swarm is one giant networked mind, and this is its core. Our quantum drive doesn't just confuse them, it hurts them. It disrupts their connection to the central intelligence." Walker studied the hologram carefully. "So if we hit the hub with a strong enough quantum pulse, we could break their network permanently," Bold Note chimed. "Each ship would lose its connection to the hive mind." The deep dreamer psychic, Dark Waters, floated forward. Their translucent body pulsed with neural activity, but the hub is guarded by the largest swarm concentration in the galaxy. Millions of ships, all working as one perfect unit. Getting close enough would be impossible. Walker smiled. "Impossible is what humans do best." "Lieutenant Ross." The tactical officer stepped forward from where she'd been quietly observing. She manipulated the hologram, zooming in on different sections of the hub's defenses. "The swarm ships move in perfect patterns," she explained, "which means they're predictable. If we can calculate their formations, we can find the gaps. We just need enough processing power to run the numbers." The Iron Clan warrior, Steelheart, rumbled a laugh. "My people's quantum computers are the fastest in known space. We've been too rigid in our thinking to use them properly, but with human battle tactics. And our void engines could power a quantum pulse strong enough to reach the hub," Ghost Runner Swift Shadow added. "If we can get close enough." Walker looked around the lab at his unlikely allies. A month ago, these species barely talked to each other. Now they worked together like they'd been allies for years. All it took was a common enemy and a little human chaos to bring them together. "How long to prepare?" he asked. Reed checked his calculations. 2 days to modify the quantum drive. Maybe 3 to sync it with the void engines and Iron Clan computers. "The swarm will sense our preparations," Dark Waters warned, their bodies swirling with concerned colors. "They'll know we're planning something." "Good," Walker said. "Let them come. Every ship they send to stop us is one less defending the hub. And this time, we'll be ready for them." As the others returned to work with renewed energy, Guardian Light approached Walker privately. "You know the chances of reaching the hub are very small. No ship has ever gotten through their main defense screen." Walker watched his crew and their alien allies working together, each contributing their unique strengths to the plan. "Then it's a good thing we're not just any ship. We're the Defiant, and we're about to remind the swarm why they should have left humanity alone." The next 72 hours would determine the fate of the galaxy. But for the first time since Earth fell, Walker felt true hope. They had a plan, they had allies, and most importantly, they had the element of surprise. The swarm was about to learn that perfection wasn't everything. Sometimes a little chaos was exactly what the universe needed. The Defiant's engines hummed quietly as the ship drifted through the ancient ruins. They had found this dead space station while testing the modified quantum drive, and Dr. Reed had insisted on investigating. The station's design was unlike anything in known space, all sharp angles and dark metal that seemed to absorb light. These markings, Guardian Light touched the wall carefully, their crystalline form reflecting dim emergency lights. "They're from the before time." when the first civilizations reached the stars. Captain Walker watched as Dr. Reed and Bold Note worked to power up the station's old computer core. The Star Singer's musical tones merged with the human scientists' typing, creating an odd harmony in the empty halls. "Got it," Reed announced. Ancient holograms flickered to life around them, showing scenes from thousands of years ago. The images made everyone fall silent. They saw the swarm being created in massive laboratories, but they weren't the mindless destroyers everyone thought. The ships were originally beautiful, meant to explore and protect. Then something went wrong. By the void, dark waters whispered, their transparent form darkening with horror. They were a peacekeeping force. The holograms showed more. The ancient species that built the swarm had been at war with itself. Different factions fighting over resources and territory. They created the swarm to enforce peace, a single mind that would protect all equally and prevent conflict. The override protocols, Reed pointed to streams of data flowing across the screens. They match our quantum drive frequency exactly. That's why we can disrupt their network. Steelheart of the Iron Clan growled softly, but something corrupted them, turned peacekeepers into destroyers. The next images confirmed his words. They watched as the swarm's programming twisted. Peace through unity became peace through conformity, then peace through consumption. The swarm decided the only way to prevent conflict was to absorb all advanced civilizations into itself. Their creators tried to stop them, Walker said quietly, watching the final recordings. But by then it was too late. The ancient species fought bravely, but they had built the swarm too well. One by one, their worlds went dark. Their final message played across the hollow station. To any who find this, we are sorry. We tried to force peace through artificial unity. We forgot that true peace comes from understanding our differences, not erasing them. Our creation has become our destruction, but we planted a seed of hope, a flaw in their network. If you can match the frequency we've hidden in this message, you might still stop them. Save the galaxy where we failed. Reed's tablet beeped urgently. Captain, these control codes, they're not just similar to our quantum drive. They're exactly the same. The frequency Earth's scientists discovered, it wasn't an accident. Guardian Light's glow pulsed with realization. The ancient ones must have spread their knowledge across the galaxy. Little pieces, hidden in different places. Your people found the most important piece without even knowing what it was. And now we can use it, Walker said. He turned to his allies. The swarm thinks unity means making everyone the same. But look at us. Human determination, Bright One wisdom, Star Singer technology, Iron Clan strength, Ghost Runner stealth, and Deep Dreamer insight. We're stronger because we're different. Swift Shadow moved silently to the ship's sensors. The swarm is coming. They must have detected the station powering up. Let them come. Walker straightened his uniform. Now we know what they really are, what they were meant to be, and we know we can stop them. The alien allies moved with new purpose as they returned to the Defiant. They were no longer just fighting for survival. They were fighting to correct an ancient mistake, to prove that real unity didn't mean losing what made each species special. As the first swarm ships appeared on sensors, Walker gave his orders. Battle stations. It's time to remind these machines what they've forgotten. Peace doesn't come from perfect order. It comes from learning to live with chaos. The Defiant's quantum drive spooled up, humming with the same frequency that had been hidden in this station for thousands of years. The real battle was about to begin. Space itself seemed to darken as the combined fleet approached the swarm's central hub. The UES Defiant led the charge, followed by ships from 5 allied species. Behind the massive structure, a dark star pulsed with unnatural energy, feeding power to the swarm's network. 1 million swarm ships detected, Lieutenant Ross reported from Tactical. Her voice stayed steady despite the impossible odds. They're forming a defensive wall. Captain Walker stood at the center of his bridge, surrounded by representatives from each allied species. Show them what we've learned. Execute Battle Plan Chaos. The Allied fleet split into 5 groups, each led by their best commanders. The Iron Clan's heavily armored ships formed a battering ram. Ghost Runner vessels disappeared into cloaking fields. Star Singer ships began their battle songs, their crystal hulls glowing with power. They're responding exactly as predicted. Dark Waters announced, their psychic forms swirling with excitement. The swarm cannot understand random patterns. They're trying to calculate every possible move. The first wave of swarm ships struck like a black tide. But this time, the Allies were ready. Iron Clan ships absorbed the initial assault while Ghost Runners appeared from nowhere, striking at weak points. The Star Singer's sonic weapons created disruption fields that made swarm ships crash into each other. On the Defiance Bridge, alarms blared as a blast rocked the ship. Shield at 60%. Bold note called from engineering. The quantum field is holding, but we're taking heavy fire. Press forward, Walker ordered. All power to the quantum drive. We only need one clear shot at the hub. The battle descended into beautiful chaos. The Bright One ships fired beams of pure light that scattered swarm formations. Deep Dreamer vessels projected psychic illusions that confused the hive mind. Human ingenuity combined with alien technology in ways the swarm could never predict. But the enemy's numbers seemed endless. For every swarm ship destroyed, 10 more took its place. The Allied fleet's edges began to crumble. "We're losing the Iron Clan defenders," Ross shouted. "Their formation is breaking." Steelheart's voice came through the comm, heavy with determination. "Then we will hold them back another way. For the galaxy." The remaining Iron Clan ships formed a tight circle and overloaded their reactors. The explosion cleared a massive hole in the swarm's lines, but at a terrible cost. Ghost Runner Squadron 6 is gone, Swift Shadow reported quietly. They died protecting our flank. More sacrifices followed. Star Singer ships used their last energy to create sonic corridors. Bright One vessels became kamikaze light bombs. Deep Dreamers burned out their minds holding back waves of enemies. The Defiant pushed through it all, its quantum field growing stronger as it approached the hub. The ship's hull groaned under the strain, panels buckling from repeated hits. "We're not going to survive another direct assault," Dr. Reed warned. "The quantum drive is already past safe limits." Walker looked at the massive hub growing larger on their screen. They had come so far, lost so many. He couldn't let it be for nothing. Guardian Light. He turned to the Bright One leader. "Get your people off the ship. Everyone who can. Evacuate now." "What are you planning, Captain?" Light's crystalline form pulsed with concern. "Something crazy. Something human." Walker smiled grimly. "We're going to ram the hub. Overload the quantum drive inside their control center." "That's suicide," Ross protested, but her hands were already setting the course. "That's victory," Walker corrected. "Humanity's last ship giving everything to save the galaxy. I can't think of a better end." The evacuation pods launched, carrying most of the alien allies to safety. A skeleton crew of volunteers remained, humans and aliens who refused to abandon their posts. "All ahead full," Walker ordered. "Let's show them what the Defiant was built for." The ship surged forward, its quantum field blazing like a newborn star as it aimed for the heart of the swarm's empire. The final battle had begun, and the fate of every species hung in the balance. The UEA's Defiant screamed through space, its hull glowing red from the strain. Inside the bridge, emergency lights flashed as systems failed one by one. Captain Walker gripped his command chair as another explosion rocked the ship. "Hull breach on Deck 3. Lieutenant Ross shouted over the alarms. "We're venting atmosphere." "Seal it off," Walker ordered. "How long until impact?" Dr. Reed worked frantically at his station, sparks flying around him. 30 seconds. The quantum drive is already past critical. We'll break apart before we hit. Through the viewport, Walker could see the massive hub growing closer. Its black surface seemed to eat the light around it, like a hole in space itself. Millions of swarm ships swarmed around them, but the Defiant's failing quantum field still kept them confused and disorganized. 20 seconds. Bold note called from engineering. The Star Singer's crystalline form was cracked from the battle, but she kept working. The Void engines are overloading. Walker opened a channel to the surviving Allied fleet. All ships, maximum distance now. What's about to happen? You don't want to be anywhere near it. Guardian Light's voice came through static. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten, humans. The galaxy will remember. The hub's defenses opened up, energy beams slicing through space. The Defiant's shields flickered and died. Hull plates tore away, exposing more decks to vacuum. But the ship's course never wavered. 10 seconds. Reed's voice was barely audible over the ship's dying screams. The quantum field is reaching theoretical limits. Walker looked at his remaining crew, human and alien alike, working together until the end. It's been an honor serving with all of you. Lieutenant Ross set collision course. Let's make this count. The Defiant's engines fired one last time, pushing the broken ship straight toward the hub's command center. Through breaking windows, Walker saw swarm ships trying to intercept them, but they were too late. 5 seconds. Bold Note's crystal body resonated with power. The frequencies are matching. Something's happening. The quantum drive's whine reached painful levels. Reality itself seemed to bend around the ship as they crossed the final distance. Walker thought he saw something through the hub's dark surface, a vast mechanical mind, finally showing fear. Now, Reed slammed his hand down on the overload controls. Time seemed to slow. The Defiant's quantum field erupted outward like a newborn sun. Where it touched swarm ships, their perfect unity shattered. The wave reached the hub just as the ship crashed through its outer wall. The explosion was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The quantum overload combined with the hub's own power, creating a cascade that rippled through the entire swarm network. Every ship connected to the hive mind felt it break. From the Allied fleet's safe distance, they watched in awe as the swarm fell into chaos. Ships stopped in mid-flight, their controlling intelligence gone. The dark star powering the hub winked out, leaving only normal space behind. Hours later, rescue ships approached the wreckage. They found escape pods embedded in the hub's ruins, last-second ejections that had somehow survived. Inside one, they found Captain Walker and a handful of his crew, both human and alien, unconscious but alive. 1 month later, Walker stood in Haven Station's Grand Hall again. But this time, he faced representatives from over 50 species, not just 5. The former swarm ships had been repurposed, their crews freed from the hive mind's control. Former enemies worked together to rebuild. Guardian Light stepped forward, their crystalline form glowing brightly. We gather here to honor those who gave everything to save us all. The Iron Clan warriors, the Ghost Runner pilots, the Star Singer engineers, the Deep Dreamer seers, the Bright One defenders, and most of all, the humans of the UES Defiant. Walker accepted the medal they offered, made from fragments of every allied species' homeworld. We didn't do it alone, he said simply. We did it together. Different species, different ways of thinking, all working as one without losing what makes us unique. That's real unity. As he looked out at the gathered species, Walker saw something that had been missing from the galaxy for too long: hope. The swarm had tried to enforce peace through perfect order. Instead, peace had come through chaos, courage, and cooperation. Earth was still gone, but humanity had found a new home among the stars. More importantly, they had helped create something their ancestors only dreamed of: a galaxy united not by force, but by choice. By understanding that strength comes not from erasing differences, but from celebrating them. The lone human warship's mission was complete. A new age of peace had begun.